This isn't going to work. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Ed to order. The emergency exits are to the rear, the right, and the left. Taylor, would you please call the roll?
Robert Tonin.
Here.
James Mooney.
Present.
William Ball.
Here.
Krista Barringer. Christine Bellarosa. Here. Susan Gage. Here. Raymond McClary.
Here.
Scott Polston.
Here.
Timothy Wells.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 27th, 2023. Moved by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ball. Discussion. None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We don't have the student rep here tonight, so we'll move to presentations and honors.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight we have a special guest with us, Miss Hewitt. She is a parent, she is a PTA member, and she is an amazing TA over at Riccardi. Last May 3rd, she sprung into action when she noticed one of her students in the classroom was choking and performed the Heimlich maneuver on that student. So we need a special round of applause for Miss Hewitt. Also this evening, I'd like to ask Mr. Wickham and Ms. Hayes to come up front. So we'd also like to recognize our students who have been helping this year.
Again, this year it's been an honor to help the Board of Education, Saugerties Central School District out to provide a service to the entire community. Filming, live streaming the Board of Education meetings. Two of our star students are here tonight. The other two could not make it, but behind that curtain is not the Wizard of Oz. It is Leah Sanson and Anna Dreyer.
Thank you.
They are outstanding people. You know, we try to teach professionalism in CBP, and these two couldn't be more professional. Anna, unfortunately, is leaving us. She's graduating. And Leo is actually a sophomore, and we're very excited for him to continue being a part of our program and being a part of this, this type of event. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, tonight we'd also like to recognize our Mahal Academic Award winners. The Saugerties Central School District would like to recognize and congratulate 98 students that held a 90% or above average while participating in a spring sport. Just point out, several of these students are also playing multiple sports. So with our women's flag football team, we do have other, some of them are also participating in softball and lacrosse. So some of them are extremely busy. And our women's flag football team won this afternoon against Newburgh as well. So congratulations to all those students who are on that. We also need to recognize a few board members this evening. So the New York State School Boards Association recognition program is designed to acknowledge those school board members who strive to continually expand their governance knowledge and skills. We've got two members to recognize tonight, the first being Trustee Bellarosa, who has completed a total of 75 points through various trainings. And congratulations also is in order for Trustee McClary, who has 150 points. Last for me for right now is, I just wanted to announce that tomorrow will be our groundbreaking ceremony for our capital project up at Morris Elementary School at 4:15. The bricks you see in front of our trustees are from the north wall of the gym that has been, I think, almost all removed by now, or vast majority of it by now. So that's a gift for the board for their work in getting this project passed and finally getting our momentum going where we're getting stuff done. So thank you, everybody. Hope to see everybody tomorrow at 4:15. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ursig. Public recognition, any member of the public wishing to speak, please approach the podium, state your name and residence, and feel free to speak.
I'm Ashley Sanders. I live at 121 Ulster Avenue. I have a couple of comments. The first is the current timeline has not changed with regard to the superintendent search since the special meeting. Why are we still pushing for the goal of July 1st? From what was stated at the last meeting with BOCES that the average is 4 to 6 months. We really need this time for the best possible candidates. Also, the newly selected board members should have a say in the selection, as the new board is the one who has the day-to-day of the new superintendent. Also, anyone who is thinking of applying for the superintendent position, no matter who they are, should have no say whatsoever as to the time frame and or posting for said position, and should not be privy to any conversation pertaining to thereof. Not only is it a huge conflict of interest, it's unethical. Lastly, we should not be letting people of substance go who are phenomenal at their jobs and have the wherewithal to say no to parents when warranted. We should be a district that encourages employees not to be yes men and to do what's best for the student population. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Joanne Longendijk. I am the CESA building rep for Riccardi School. And I can't say enough about what Jamie did, because you know what, when you do something for this, like for a student, at that time we're trained and your anxiety perks up. And then you're sure of what might happen, but all I can say is, Jamie, you did a great job, and I'm so proud of her. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? None being heard, we'll go to a capital project update.
So again, good evening. Jeff Andrews of BDL. Jim Bufar with Tetra Tech wasn't able to make it here today. He's got some end-of-year stuff with his daughter who's graduating this year, so we got to give him a little leeway. But if we go to the next slide, we do have just a quick hit on the capital improvement project, the energy performance plan, the capital outlay project. Those are kind of the three things we're hitting tonight. So again, with the capital improvement project, for all those that are here today, you've seen some visuals of what's going on outside. We've separated the south parking lot. They are starting to do some of the investigative work. Part of that stuff is really needed as we're starting to realize that some of the information provided on as-built drawings that Tetra Tech is using isn't as accurate as we'd like it to be, so we're working on some move-arounds to allow us to keep progress going on here and keep us moving forward. On the board, basically here is a breakdown of work that's going to be being scheduled at the schools. Again, some of that's a little bit of adjusted based on how we're working with the contractors now. Some of the things to notice, for example, from the last presentations, Mount Marion, we're looking to move forward with the site work yet this year. And we are working in Cahill, pushing forward with potentially completing all the flooring this year. So some of those things are on their way there. We did note, as well as was mentioned earlier, we do have the 415 groundbreaking at Morse, so we'd love to see you there. So far with everything that we've got, even though we have had some issues just trying to locate where certain things are and match them up, we've been working very well with the contractors and we are on target. Capital outlay, again, all of the work in hand is complete. There are some tweaks that are going on with the fine-tuning of the BMS and the lighting control program. And we are working through closeout, and we received probably 70% of the closeout documents. We're trying to get the remainder of those, and again, we're on schedule to get that all completed by the end of June. Riccardi, we did abatement in April, got that all taken care of, and now we're prepping for the end of the year when school is out to come back in and do flooring in the areas that are highlighted. That'll wrap the work up. There are some options that are there because there was an area within the corridor 107 corridor that has some flooring there that is wood flooring that would need to be removed if it needed to be abated. So we're working with Tetra Tech now to determine the best course of action moving forward, whether we leave that in place for the short term or if we take care of that yet this summer. So kind of hitting on those. Any questions currently? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Santamore, you're up.
All right, good evening. This is the 2023-24 budget public hearing presentation. So a majority is just like my previous presentations, but I've added a couple different slides and broke down our revenues and expenditures a couple different ways. First we start with the property tax levy calculation. And that's a multi-step formula. And we start with the tax levy for the current fiscal year, which was $42.5 million. We multiply that by our tax-based growth factor, which is a number that we get from the New York State Division of Real Property Tax Services. And I want to point out that that number there doubled over our previous year. It was 0.52%, and now it's up to 1.2%, which is a good thing. That brings us up to $43 million, and then we add in the pilot's receivable, so it's our payment in lieu of taxes for the current year of just under $250,000, bringing us up to $43.2 million. Then we subtract off the capital tax levy, which is the local share of our capital expenditures for the current year of $885,000, bringing us down to $42.3 million. Then we multiply that by the allowable levy growth factor of 2%. So that's the 2% that you hear when they talk about the 2% tax cap. That's it right there. The choices are the CPI, or Consumer Price Index number, or 2%, whichever is lower. So the Consumer Price Index in comparison at this time was 8% as provided by the New York State Comptroller's Office. But again, we're held to that 2%. So 8% is the highest I've seen it since this was enacted in 2011. Then that brings us up to $43.2 million. Then we subtract the pilot's receivable for the following year, which was estimated at $43,000. So we have a reduction of one pilot agreement, but we have an addition of a solar pilot agreement for next year, but it still results in a net decrease of over $200,000 in that category. So our total tax levy limit before exclusions is $43,182,741. The next step in the calculation is to add in the exclusions. So there are a few different exclusions that can be applied within this formula, but the only one that's applicable in the coming year is the capital tax levy. The others involve the retirement system. And since they don't increase by an excess of 2 percentage points, no, we're not allowed to use them in this calculation. So Our total exclusions for the coming year come out to just over $1 million. And then on the next page, yep, I have both sides of that calculation. Is the first we look at is all of the capital expenditures, and here are the various categories within that. We have bands, which is bond anticipation notes, and we have an estimated principal and interest payment on that. We plan on borrowing in June of this year about $13 million to fund what we need for bills for the capital project for the next year. And then we have our energy performance lease principal and interest payment of $234,000. We plan on doing another capital outlay project of $100,000. And then we have BOCES capital expenditures estimated at $124,000. And then we are also going to be financing with another ban about $1 million, but the estimated principal and interest payments for the Ulster BOCES project is just under $500,000. So we're going to combine those two bans into one and just do it for a total of about $15 million. And we're estimating 5.5% interest rate on those. So again, we're going to be doing that in June. Next, so the other side of this part is the aid and the reserves that are going to be used to offset those capital expenditures. So state building aid we have coming in for previous cash projects is $161,000, and then the state building aid for the EPC project is estimated at $255,700. Then we have the state building aid, which would be early aid requests for the $22 million project of about $975,000. And then state BOCES aid for the capital expenditures, mostly made up of leases for the BOCES, is about $22,000. And then the BOCES aid for the capital project, which is BOCES capital project, is going to be about $185,000. And then we're going to be using some money that we have in a debt service reserve and pulling that in. We're going to use $124,775 to try to reduce the tax levy. So that half of the formula comes up to 1.7 million, and the expenditure side was 2.7. The net of those two is the local share of the capital expenditures at $1,02,427. Then putting that together with the limit for exclusions will bring us up to a maximum allowable levy limit of $44,185,168, which is an increase over the previous year of $1,681,321, or 3.96%. And that is at the cap calculation, so it only requires a simple majority vote to pass. Next is state aid projection. So we finally received the legislative budget, legislative approval on the state budget April 19th, although it was due April 1st. That's okay. We had a couple good years on time, didn't we? The board adopted the revenue budget before the final budget was in from the state. But there was slight adjustments on that, not too much. So we're estimating an increase of 2.5 million over the previous year, or 11.7%. The total estimated is $24,759,439. And the biggest increase there is the foundation aid, which brings us up to the full phase-in amount of, next page, of $17,496,772. So let's see, the next one going down, our BOCES aid, I split that up into two different sections there so you can see the BOCES capital portion, that $185,000 is separated from the rest of the regular BOCES expenditures at that $1.6 million. So I'm looking down. The only categories that changed a little on the legislative approval was the BOCES aid. That changed a little bit, but it still wasn't entirely accurate. So the 185 is still the best number to go with for that capital portion. And then I believe the instructional materials aid increased slightly, but it was only about $1,000 or so. So that's not too far. I think they continued with a high estimate of the transportation aid, which I still believe the number, the $2.3 million, is a better number on that. I think that's all. Like I said, there wasn't that many changes in the instructional materials aid. That changed because when they pulled in their numbers for the legislative budget, they used more updated enrollment count from the district. So it just changed that slightly. The next one, I just have a couple of highlights, I think, from the legislative approval where they did accept the fully funded foundation aid. They rejected that high impact tutoring set aside that was previously on there of $100,000. So I just rolled it back up into that foundation aid number. So basically that's saying we don't have to specifically spend it, that $100,000 on high impact tutoring. We can spend it however we see fit. Next, they rejected the school building level budget reporting, which was the New York State Division of Budget Transparency reporting. But they decided to add two other reports. One being a report on our pre-K students and some of the challenges we're facing in that. One of them is they keep giving districts more money for additional students, but really we need more money for the students we have. So we're going to be doing that reporting starting this fall. And then another one of the reports is on the zero emissions busing, and that's going to start in next fall, so in 2024. I think they're just trying to gather data on, I don't know, the feasibility of it maybe. Next we have New York State did include funding for universal school meals, but they only included it for participants in the community eligibility provision. So that is a program that it's federally funded. So if we have buildings or our entire school that's at least 40% directly certified, which means that they're automatically, the information is pulled in from social services as if any of our students are on SNAP or Medicaid. This program provides that if you have at least 40%, the federal government will reimburse you. Once you get into it, they'll reimburse you a certain amount, but you have to be 65% to receive the maximum reimbursement amount. But New York State is going to fund that difference between the reimbursement rate of the 65 and between the 40 and the 65. So we have two of our buildings that are right on that edge of 40%. So the food service director and I are going to look into applying for those two buildings. And if we get into the community eligibility provision, then that would work with New York State. So we'd get federally funded, and then New York State would make up the difference, giving us the maximum reimbursement available of that 65, as if we were 65% directly certified. So we're looking into that. So we just got the details on it. And we have to apply, I believe, by June 30th. So we're working on that right now. That would give, I should back up, I missed the part where I should say that would give all of the students in those buildings free breakfast and free lunch, no matter what. Like all of the students would get it. The next one, they did not increase any investments in career and tech education, and they did not include any funding for a study on what they're going to do with the foundation aid formula next. So all of the districts that were underfunded are now fully funded, but there's several districts that are overfunded So they were talking about doing a study on what to do next and how to change the formula so that it's more evenly distributed or fairly distributed. So we're kind of looking forward to see what's going to happen with that. So the overall adopted revenue budget is at state aid of 24.7, then our maximum property tax levy 44.1 million. Our other sources are 1.8 million, bringing us to $70,773,085. And we're going to use fund balance and reserves to make up the difference. So we have 278,000 in fund balance, about 25,000 in unemployment reserve, and 116,000 from our employees' retirement reserve. And the increase in the revenue over the previous year is about 4.4 million, or 6.75%. Next, just a little chart demonstrating our biggest two categories of revenue are still state aid and property tax. And I think this year we're moving up. Property tax now contributes 64% of the total, and state aid is 33%. So the adopted budget in total is $71,192,559, and which is an increase of 4.7 million, or 7.17% over the previous year, and has a lot to do with the debt service that's related to capital projects, but we just discussed the offset with that building aid. We have replacement of various equipment, contractual obligations, special education requirements, an increase in the health insurance, and in the transportation budget. So next we're going to go over the three-part budget. So there's been a slight shift in the different sizes of the components. So the capital portion is up to 9.6% from 8 programs down to 80.7 from 83, and admin is up to 9.7 from 9. So the first one I'm going to go over is the administrative component. This component provides for overall general support and management activities as shown below. So basically the Board of Education, district office, business office, personnel, legal, public information, insurance. The BOCES administrative budget is also included in here, as well as the supervision of all the schools, and a portion for employee benefits. So we have a few, looks like big percentage increases on here, but the first one is a very small amount. It's about $6,000 in the Board of Education. So we've increased that for cost of training. We should be having new board members that need to go to training. Also, the cost of the budget vote has increased slightly. Next, for the superintendent's office, again, training for the new superintendent is included in there. For the business, personnel, legal, and public info, we have an additional 0.5 FTE account clerk within the business office, and there's also included is training for that account clerk and hopefully an accountant that we should get again. The next, security and central services, that looks large, and that's where the security guards would go, is within those budget codes. We also have in here a new van for the warehouse, which can also double as transportation for students, and an increase in postage. Under the special items, that's the BOCES administrative and capital budget, and there is an increase in our liability insurance, which is included in that. And then for supervision of schools, so what happened previously was when we had a director of curriculum and instruction, that director was incorporated in one of those federal grants. And when we shifted that position to assistant superintendent, it could no longer be paid for out of the grant. So this is me moving that position back into the general fund. So that's what makes up a lot of that increase, not the total amount though. And we've also increased our professional development that we're going to be getting through BOCES services. So that's also an increase within that supervision of schools category. Next is the program budget. This provides the funding for instruction, for all instruction and educational support services for the students, as well as transportation. So, let's see, the teaching is increased in special education cost of placements and other contractual obligations. And then in instructional media, that's made up of the libraries and computer services. So this increase is new and replacement of technology, mostly hardware. Pupil services, that's where athletics is and co-curricular. So we're increasing the athletic budget for the supplies and equipment along with the full-time AP, AD, and full-time secretary. And there's also more money budgeted within that co-curricular for our clubs and activities to attend events and have materials and supplies for the projects they're working on. And then transportation, as we discussed before, is the new first student contract that's incorporated in there, along with the CPI increase for our other contractors, which we're estimating at about 6%. And then we have transfer to school lunch fund, which is increased a bit to for food and delivery cost. But as I spoke about before, if we get into that CEP situation and the state is able to fund the difference for us, I don't believe we're going to have to use that all. So I'm hoping that'll be, it should be a good thing. I just need to run the numbers. And I didn't find out about it until a couple of weeks ago. So we'll work on that, and hopefully we'll have some savings there during the year. And be able to feed the kids for free. That'll be good. The next one is the capital component, and this pays for maintaining all indoor and outdoor facilities, including electricity, heat repairs, and all of the principal and interest payments on all of our financing. So bonds, bands, and leases. And the transfer to the capital fund for the outlay project is also included here. So really the maintenance of the plant, that's the increase for our half a year of director of facilities. And then we have the increase in the band categories. So both, I just separated out so you could see the bands for the BOCES project at that 487 is new, and then the band for the increase in the borrowing. So we went from 2.5 million in a band borrowing, and now we're going to be doing 13 or 14 million in the other band. So the interest, principal and interest payments are higher, but the other things stay the same. Next, this is just the same chart as I've been using previously. It's just a different way to break down the different categories of expenditures. And again, we've talked about the debt service increase there a few times. That one is huge. The sports and co-curricular I just discussed, along with technology, transportation, and then the security guards. So in the total BOCES budget is next year estimated at 6.1 million, an increase of almost $1 million, or about 17% over the previous year. And that's for different student placements within their alternative programs, special education programs, and their temporary therapeutic program. So in the 23-24 school budget, with that 3.96 property tax levy, with the totals, we continue our current student programming district-wide with a similar average class size. We continue with the library and social worker and psychologist in each building. And a few of the new things we're adding is equipment replacements in instructional technology, the health offices, facilities, central services, and the music department. We also have a new transportation 5-year contract with First Student, a new van as well for transportation, full-time staff in the athletic office, security guards, and again, that transfer to school lunch, but like I said, that could change. And then again, capital outlay appropriations for more Riccardi elementary flooring. So the district reserves and fund balance. Here's all of the reserves we have now, plus we're going to recommend to add an additional one for liability for $200,000. So for the teacher's retirement system reserve, that we're eligible to increase it by 2% of the preceding year's salaries, but not more than 10% of the total preceding year's salaries. So the $531,678 is the 2% of the preceding year's salaries. Next, the tax tertiary, that should be equal to the liability of the filed claims. And then the employee benefit and accrued liability, that reduction is the estimated amount of the payout to our retirees for their paid leave days. Capital, this can be increased up to $9.6 million, and we will be recommending moving the amount of the unassigned fund balance above the 4% threshold into this reserve. And then I spoke about establishing the liability reserve for pending claims. And then down for the unassigned fund balance, the bottom right quarter there, that 2.8 million, that is the 4% threshold amount. And I expect the surplus this year to be at least 1.4 million. And I took a look at some of the factors behind that. And we had revenues that were over budget. We had interest income was up a lot this year. We invested actually another 5 million recently in a CD to bring us in, I think it was another like 21,000. So we're way over budget on that category. And then we had an unexpected miscellaneous revenue, which were energy rebates of around 200,000. We received quite a bit more in homeless aid, which is also kind of sad at the same time. BOCES aid was higher than budgeted, as well as we did not incorporate the BOCES lease payment into last year's budget because the lease wasn't signed until after the budget was approved. So that is an addition in there as well. And then some of the expenditures that were under budget was the health insurance due to that holiday premium that we received from the DHIC consortium. Transportation was a little under, and then over budget was our special education placements and our substitute costs. And I had something else, but never mind, it's on a different page. Okay, next. Although the voters are voting on the total budget, I just have a little information about possible tax impact. So I'm using the tentative assessed values for these calculations, which came out last week. So this will not be the exact number. This is just my estimate based on those tentative assessment rolls. So it will change, but probably not too far, I would think. So those assessed values were provided by Ulster County Real Property Tax Services. And let's see. So in the far right column, I have the actual of the 22-23 year, and then I have the estimated 23-24 year. And Saugerties, the town of Saugerties is still at 100% equalization rate. And to keep it at that, they had to increase everyone, I believe it was 17.13%. And so overall, there's a slight shift in the percentage of the tax levy that's paid by each town. So previously, the town of Saugerties, like the current year, paid 89.6% of the total. And no, they were paying 89.9%. Now they're shifting down to 89.6% of the total. the town of Ulster was paying 4.24% of the total, and now they're going to be paying about 3.91. And so those two are shifting, as well as Woodstock is increasing. They're going from 5.82% of the total to 6.48% of the total levy. So in the tax rates, I'm estimating a decrease for the town of Saugerties and the town of Ulster, but an increase for the town of Woodstock. And on the next page, I have an example of a home. So in the 22-23 actual column, that's where the house value was for this year. It's about $324,000, and then the tax rate being $15.66 had them with a tax bill of $5,073.84, and that was before the basic star exemption. This doesn't include any exemptions. It's like straight up. And then using my estimated 13.60 cents of a tax rate, their bill would increase to $5,161. And that's increasing their assessed value, that 17.13% up to $379,500. So the increase in their tax bill is estimated at $87.28 for the year, or under 2%. So it's looking about 1.72%. And again, that's before STAR, and that's an actual example I took. So, but using the estimated tax rate, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So I know it makes people nervous to say that everybody's assessed value went up by 17%, but if everybody's went up, it doesn't mean everybody's tax bill is going up by that much. So, all right, the next slide, I just have overall kind of look for 10 years here of the budget and the tax levy changes. I think I have a typo in the date at the top. It actually goes through 23-24. So the budget increase for over the current year is 7.17. But if we look at the average over the past 5 years, if we average it out, it's about 1.8% a year over those 5 years. And then the tax cap calculation increase is 3.96, when really the CPI is 8%. But if we look at the average tax levy increase over the past 10 years, so if we look at all those, it's averaging about 2% over each of those years. And then I just want to point out that the percentage of these increases don't necessarily equal. They're not equal. The budget doesn't go up by the same amount the tax levy goes up or goes down, and then we use differing amounts of fund balance or reserve depending on the year and what the budget deficit is. Almost done, I promise. Next, I have the long-range financial projections. So I have the actuals for 21-22 and using the estimated fund balance for 2023, and then I've plugged in the budget here for 2024 and then projected out for 25 and 26. So in the out years, the 25 and 26, I'm using an increase in the state foundation aid of 3%, because that's generally what it has been. It's always, over the past few years, it's been a minimum of 3% or more. So I took the liberty of using 3% here. And then I'm using the projected tax levy calculations that I have going out of 2.95% in 2025 and then 2.5% in 2026. And that's based on how the capital projects are going and what we expect to borrow in the end, and using conservative estimate on the interest rate. So those will change, but that's what I'm estimating right now. So in the out years, the biggest increases really are that transportation budget, energy, and health insurance, along with substitute cost And we also have an increase in minimum wage to consider. And a few different possible savings. There's DHIC is offering a different health care, or I should say prescription plan for retirees that could save the district some money, and we continuously work on efficiencies throughout the district. We also look forward to seeing savings in energy consumption with the completion of the energy performance contract. And we're also, and again, looking at the feasibility of that community eligible provision for the school lunch fund in the applicable elementary buildings, which could save us on that interfund transfer amount to school lunch. And if we do have continued high inflation in the following years, we have reserves that can help us through that. And we also have our capital reserve that we're tucking away a little bit of money each year into to help fund other renovations or upgrade throughout the district. And then looking ahead, next year, 24-25, will be the last year of the American Rescue Plan federal grant. We have several positions throughout the district that are supported by this grant, and we will need to determine their continuance. So we already have work to do. Next. Just a list of the board candidates in order that they will appear on the ballot, and we are looking for 3 to fill 3-year term vacancies. And the last is just the budget vote is May 16th, budget vote and board elections, May 16th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then the budget statement is available on our website, and the newsletters should be out soon.
Thank you, Ms. Sanamore, for the presentation. The next part is a public recognition for anyone who wishes to comment on the budget. None being heard, we'll move to board member remarks. Ms. Gage?
First, I'd like to thank Jackie and Scott for all the work that they've done with audiovisual and all the students. When I first got on the board, we never knew if the person that was doing the audiovisual would show up, and there were nights that nobody was recording. So it was a great move to have this done in-house, and I know how much time Scott and Jackie put in. Congratulations to our Spring Mahal students. And kudos to Christine and Mike for getting those achievement awards. I know those credits are hard to come by. They take a while, so congratulations.
Mr. Wolf?
I just, excuse me, I'd just like to echo some of those sentiments. Congratulations to all of our AV students and recognition of, that program. It's been a tremendous, tremendous asset. Congratulations to those athletes, having had some students that went through and played sports. I know the time commitment. Any parent knows the time commitment that's involved, just in order to be able to manage regular academic responsibilities in the context of playing sports. And any of the students that get on that list are impressive indeed. I'd also like to congratulate. We have a number of individuals that are later on in the board meeting recommended for tenure, so I'd like to congratulate those individuals in advance. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Anyone else? None being heard. Board President remarks. Again, thank you for that budget presentation, and I realize it entails a lot of work. Hopefully we will get a good turnout for the election next week on the 16th. I don't have a vested interest in how you vote, but I would love to see an increase in turnout. Traditionally, there's very few people vote in school board and budget vote elections compared to the number of town folk that we have. So please come out and vote. That being said, I'll conclude my remarks. Board wants to skip the break and keep moving with the agenda. All right, I'll entertain a motion for item J1, 2, 3,
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Go ahead.
Can we remove item J2B to a roll call vote, please?
All right, we'll go through item, I'll amend my motion that I'm seeking for items J1.
Can I make a motion,
Into-
Mayor, also?
Yes,
I would like to make a motion to move J1F into executive session.
okay.
Further discussion.
So, Mr. Mooney, you want a roll call vote in Ms. Gage for making an amendment to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss that further in executive session.
Okay. So it was J1F.
J1F.
So I will seek a motion for J1, A through E, and J2A.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Gage, second by Mr. Mooney. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. J2B, you want a roll call vote, Mr. Mooney?
Please.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve item J2B.
So,
Mr. Paulson makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Bellarosa. Discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a roll call vote, Tyler.
Robert Tony,
Yes.
James Mooney,
Abstain.
William Ball,
Yes.
Christine Bellarosa,
Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
Susan Gage,
Yes.
Raymond McClary,
Yes.
Scott Polston,
Yes.
Timothy Wells.
Yes.
Motion carried. 7 yes, 1 abstain.
I'll entertain a motion for item J3, A through I.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gage, second by Mr. Mooney.
Sure.
Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item J4, appointments to tenure. I'll entertain a motion for items 4A through F. Moved by Ms. Bellarosa. Is there a second? Mr. Ball. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And congratulations to those who are here who gave attendance tonight. And Dr. Ersick has some certificates for you.
Just looking to see who's here. I'll just read the names. So first we have Rebecca Black. I do not believe I see her. Maura DeSalle, she's a TA. I do not see her as well. Jill Michaels, so not in attendance. Francis Smith. Thank you. Veronica Steinmeier, not in attendance. And lastly, Matt Swart, not in attendance. So congratulations to these individuals.
Item K, business office recommendations. I'll entertain a motion for K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm sorry, 10 and 11.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mooney, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paulson. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Board action items, I'll call for a motion for L1, 2, 3, 4.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gage, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wells. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
M, board action discussion items. What I had brought, and was out on the table, was the timeline that we had discussed at our last meeting regarding the superintendent's search. We've heard the community's concern and input, and there'll be a revised timeline coming out, which will put the search into August. There will also be a community forum. We will announce the dates of that. There will also be a survey going out to the community. So as soon as I can get a clean copy of that document, I'll have it posted on the district website and available for public distribution. Item N, committee reports and other matters. Audit committee, Ms. Barringer's not here. Ms. Moore, do you have anything to add for that?
No, we did have a meeting. We reviewed some corrective action plans, which should be on the next board agenda for approval.
Okay. Facilities, Mr. Mooney?
We really look forward to everybody coming tomorrow at 4:15 to the groundbreaking ceremony, and everything's on track, everything's going well. Nothing new to report. We're just trying to tie up things with the EPC, and our next meeting is the 7th at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Policy committee, we skipped the last meeting.
Yeah, we skipped the last meeting, didn't get much back from the attorneys, so we're scheduled for June 6th, the next policy meeting.
Public recognition. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please approach the podium, state your name and residence, and feel free to comment.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Viviani. I live at 4 Maple Road in Saugerties. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm here this evening to speak in regards to the resignation of Miss Anderson. It is a huge loss to our district. Having worked with her in the Office of Special Education, I can attest the scope of her experience and knowledge specifically relating.
That's a personal matter that's on the agenda. That's not a topic for discussion in public.
In other words, we can't talk about.
I don't want to discuss it. I just wanted to express my concern for the district as a whole in regards to losing such a valuable employee, and implore the board to decline the resignation. There is no one that can fill those shoes.
Ma'am, you're out of order.
With the same integrity.
Ma'am, you're out of order.
Okay.
You can't speak on a personnel matter. Anyone else? None being heard, I'll entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Wall? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will be coming out to a vote on the item that was tabled for discussion in executive session. I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Polston. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wells. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will entertain a motion to untable item J1F. Moved by Mrs. Gage. Is there a second? Mrs. Delarosa. Any discussion? There's been a request for a roll call vote, so I will call for a roll call vote.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Mr. Mooney?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Ms. Delarosa?
Yes.
Ms. Gage?
No.
Mr. McClary?
Yes.
Mr. Polson?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
The vote carries 7 yes, 1 no.
I will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to include item P3.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wells. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Delarosa. Any discussion on amending the agenda? None being heard, I'll call for a motion to adopt item P3. And I'll read it first. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Saugerties Central School District hereby affirms the superintendent's decision in suspension of student number 16562 issued pursuant to an Education Law 3214 superintendent's hearing, and further authorize the board president to inform the parents of student number 16562 of its decision. So I'll call for a motion on that item P3.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mooney. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. Discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote on item P3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Mr. LaRosa. Any discussion? None being heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.